Welcome, welcome, welcome. You guys have just joined the one, the only Back Row Show Raiders. The Back Row Show Raiders cast. Brought to you by the Network One. Bringing you your latest news about them Las Vegas Raiders. I'll be your host tonight. The Network One. The Network One, yes. You are joined by the hooligans. If you guys want to hop over to Network One over on Twitch.com. You can join us and ask questions and join us in the conversation yourself. If not now, it'll be later and it'll be greater. Let's go, y'all. Shout out to everybody from the network. The network is throwing off something new, and I'm glad to be a part of it and have the opportunity to come in here and bring y'all some content. It revolves around the NFL. It revolves around the now Las Vegas Raiders, and I can even sprinkle in some fantasies. So to be a member of the Back Row Show, and if you guys don't know what that is, check out the Back Row Show Fantasy Football. It's a network of 32 hosts. And each host has a team. And I was very fortunate to end up with my hometown Raiders to represent in the network. This is something new and it's fresh, and I'm glad to be a part of it. But I might have said that already. We got somebody representing the Dolphins on the Back Row Show. We got somebody representing the Jets on the Back Row Show. I think we got Eagles. You guys must check it out. I will put in the description, in the notes, the link to the Back Row Show website. If you guys hop over here on Twitch, I haven't set it up yet, but I will put that in the panels. This is our very first show, episode 1. So what I did yesterday was I wanted to take us back a couple of steps. You know what I mean? A lot of people may be new to football in a way of like in Las Vegas per se, because this is now the Las Vegas Raiders. So every year, the NFL and sports, what up, what it do? Thank you so much for that lurk and those 100 bits. Thank you at twitch.com. Shout out to Silver Hawk. Let's get it. Our very first podcast donation. Look at there. So I wanted to take a look back for somebody who might be a new Raiders fan. We get an influx of new fans every year, whether you like it or not. And it's like Papa got a brand new band or bag. You call it what you want, Mr. James Brown. But the Raiders got a new home, and they're going to have some new fans to join them. So a lot of these new fans, because this is Generation X, what generation we in? They don't know the Raiders history quite like myself. So we go get over here, and I'm going to break a couple of things down to you new fans that you guys might not know about the Raiders. I got you. Don't worry about that, Craig. I'm going to start off with Jon Gruden. You know, when you're dealing with like somebody has the mind of Jon Gruden, he has a monster mind in the knowledge of football. So when he has a team that he's in charge of, we're going to start with the captain of the ship. And this is not his first rodeo, as I might have forementioned. He was a Raiders head coach before, and he was pretty much involved in a groundbreaking trade back in 2002. So let's take a jump in our time machine and go back to 2002 when 2001, should I say, Jon Gruden was traded. That's right, traded from the Oakland Raiders to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For what? For what, network? He was traded for 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks and $8 million. Subsequently, after he was traded to the Bucs, he took the Bucs to the Super Bowl against who? Guess. Yes, the Oakland Raiders. Guess who won that game? We ain't going there. We not going there. But so he was traded to a team for 2 number 1s and 2 number 2 round draft picks. He went to a team and won a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. Well, how did it work out for the Raiders? Well, I guess we can say the Raiders actually went to the Super Bowl that year, so they were good, right? Well, if you're going to trade away an asset to another team and they go to the Super Bowl, I think that other team wins that trade. Unless possibly you're able to get some pieces with those draft picks, right? Does this sound familiar to you guys? We're going to get to that, but when Gruden came back, didn't he make huge trades? And how he walked out the door was a huge trade. Now let's think back. Back in 2002, the following year he was traded, and following the year that all this went down, the Raiders had 3 first-round draft picks, right? One of the picks that they garnered for trading Gruden from Tampa Bay was traded to New England. So they ended up having 2 first-round picks there left. Okay? I don't know where they got one of those picks. So with their 17th overall pick that year, they picked Philip Buchanan, right? He was decent out of the U. He was out of the U. Okay. But with their 23rd pick, which I think was one of those Tampa Bay Buccaneers picks, I got this written down. They picked Napoleon Harris, linebacker from Northwestern. Yeah, I kind of vaguely remember him, but I remember Buchanan a lot more. He was a player. But in that year, a mistake was made, and hindsight is 2020 when we go back and look at this, right? If I would have known, woulda, coulda, shoulda, I would have won a couple of Super Bowls. But in that year, with the number 23 pick, they picked Napoleon Harrison, linebacker. With their 17th pick, they picked Philip Buchanan at cornerback, right? That year, with the 24th pick, Ed Reed was picked by the Ravens. So if you were picking a defensive back, and okay, of course, Ed Reed didn't play cornerback, but you picked a linebacker, then and a Hall of Famer just out your grasp. You know, you could have changed the trajectory of your team if you picked Ed Reed. I didn't look back into the fact of what their roster was like that year, and maybe we will do that in the future if you guys want to do that. I can't take a look into that. Funny thing that I came up with from looking through this stuff was back in 2002, that is. You know who was the number 1 overall pick? I just found this funny and a coincidence. David Carr. We're going to get to Derek Carr, but David Carr was the number 1 overall pick that year. I am laughing for those of you guys who can't see. So pretty much it was a wash on pretty much all the capital they got from Tampa Bay from the Gruden trade. The following year, they were able to pick up Langston Walker, an offensive tackle out of Cal. You know what? The Raiders love their Cal players. But that I would say that he was a really good player for a long time. But in the second round, they picked a tight end, Doug Jolly. I remember him out of BYU. He was decent. In that draft, they pretty much swift 2 rounds later on Brian Westbrook, who was taken later. Another number 1 pick that they picked. They like picking defensive backs as well. In 2003, they spent the 32. That was after the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. So that pick, that first rounder that they got, wasn't necessarily a good one. But they were able to pick up Brayton Tyler, a defensive end, with the 32 overall pick in that draft. Osios Omenura was picked with the 56th pick in that draft. That was a slight miss right there. They did draft good that year, though. They was able to get Nadi Asuma. Oh, did I say that right? With the 31st overall pick that year. They pretty much didn't get anything of value in 2004. In the second round, they picked up Jake Grove, a center, but they passed up a round later on Nick Hardwick, and I think he was out of Purdue. That rings a bell. So I just dug into a bunch of things, and they pretty much got nothing out of those picks. If you consider Langston, the offensive tackle, Langston Walker was a super find, but that was pretty much it they got out of those draft picks. And they gave up $8 million for Gruden. What I found shocking and amazing is, let me see if I can pull it up here. I found it really interesting that Jon Gruden in his career is only 4 games over 500. So I wanted to point that out. Um, I want to take a second to ask everybody, what do they think is a reasonable expectation to have for the Las Vegas Raiders this year? I'm talking record wise. If I would be able to say this year, this move into the new era for the Raiders was something that was productive, at the minimum, I think the Raiders should get 10 wins. Will 10 wins get them into the playoffs this year? They're adding an extra playoff team? That's possible. 10 wins isn't what it used to be. They have the Kansas City Chiefs in their division, and they're going to be probably right up there at the top. So looking back at last year's 7-9, they were kind of in the race late in the season, and they were put in positions time and time again where just Carr couldn't make a play. They didn't seem hungry enough. Of course, they were banged up, even with Josh Jacobs having a stellar rookie season. A lot of injuries and things of that nature. I don't see them being able, in Jon Gruden's third year, to not be able to improve on the arc they are. Let's look at it like this. In 2018, the Oakland Raiders were 4-12, abysmal, right? Last year they were 7-9, but they didn't go on a 3-game increase. I want to see that arc to continue, and they have to win 3 more games than last year to be like, okay, this 10-year contract that Gruden has that is lifetime is not going to make sense if they're not improving every year. And another thing that I found out that was pretty darn interesting, in the clause in Gruden's contract, guess what? There's a no trade clause. So they can't trade him. He made sure that was in there too, from what I understand. But so what happened last time, there's some protection other than him saying he waived his no trade clause. We're pretty much stuck with the guy. Okay, Pumpkin? Okay. So I thought that was pretty darn interesting when I got to digging around in that stuff. And he's also said to be quoted, if he fails the Raiders in this $100 million contract that he has, he's not going to take the Raiders' money. What we got to figure out is, when do we determine he's a failure? We're 3 years into this tenure. Is it year 5? We say, okay, yeah, this ain't working and go our separate ways. They have to be married and tied to each other in various different ways as far as this new stadium, this move, all the roster moves that was made. I'm going to refrain and try to do my best not to say certain players' names because it's not all on him. There's some personnel signings that is very questionable, but it's kind of flows into the history of how the Raiders operate. If you don't know, just grown up players, not necessarily past their prime per se, but we love the Carson Palmers. We love the Rich Gannons. We love the Charlie Gardners. We love these players are all exceptional players in addition. The Jerry Rices. Did you guys know Jerry Rice played for the Raiders? You didn't, did you, young buck? Oh, whippersnappers. But other than that, I thought we'll start with the coach. I'm showing my information. And where do you guys think we go next with this? I think we'll go next over to the signal caller, Carr himself. If you watched a lot of the Raiders games last season, you was able to see something that was kind of obvious. He looked a lot of loss at times. He didn't have any weapons. They were able to quadruple team his tight end Waller. I don't know what happened over the span of 2 seasons of the Raiders having one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. And then when you watch them, they're banged up. They're quite expensive. They don't seem to gel as well as they did a couple of years ago. And Carr just doesn't look comfortable at all in the pocket. It seems like he tries to do too much in very dire situations, and it never goes his way, and that right there has to stop. So in looking into Derek Carr, one thing I noticed, which was really surprising, is in the Raiders' history, there has not been a signal caller that has been the starting quarterback for the Raiders longer than Carr. That is a fact. You can look it up. It goes back to 6 years. Ken Stabler was the starting quarterback for the Raiders. Last year, guess what? Carr's 6th year. He's going into his 7th year. I know what you're going to say. What about Mariota? They brought him in to give some competition, and we heard recently he is quoted saying that this is Carr's team. I think Carr is going to be on a lot shorter leash. You call it what you will. Gruden, I think he wants to put something into play, maybe have some packages for his more mobile quarterback. I applaud them trying to get a backup, because a backup is something that we haven't necessarily had over since Gannon, maybe. Name a backup that was, if you've seen the list, and I should probably go look it up, of the quarterbacks that the Raiders have had over the last 20 years, you would be surprised. Hey, welcome. So David Carr has only missed 2 games in his whole career going into his 7th year. And that does not seem right, does it? Nope. Let me make sure that I'm quoting this correctly. Don't want to give y'all no bad news, but we all know that David Carr had the horrific, broke his leg in one game. The Raiders really was doing well that year. And didn't he break a bone in his back? Another? Let me grab those stats right now. If you guys have any questions, any interest about the Raiders, feel free to ask them in chat. If you guys happen to be listening to this later, be sure, if you want to, you can check it live on twitch.com. I am the Network One. Take the E's out and put some 3s, and we all good. Let me see. Derek Carr. Okay, I am correct. Yes, he missed 1 game in 2016, 1 game in 2017. He's been in the league. Oh, okay. I've misspoken. This is his 6th year, so he will be tied for the most years as a Raiders starting quarterback. No, I'm right. He's going into his 7th. Had to recount that. So I thought that was pretty surprising that he's going into his 7th year and he has only missed 2 games. So that doesn't say that says Iron Man. You don't come across quarterbacks or players necessarily like that to have the injuries, a broken leg, and I want to say it was a vertebrae in his back. Separate seasons. Last year, whether you know it or not, his passing percentage was 70%, which is pretty darn good. He threw for 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. That seems like that should be something that puts them in the right position, right? Good passing percentage. He needs to get his touchdowns up. The offense ran through Josh Jacobs and on the ground. But without having any weapons on the outside, having Terrell Williams plantar fasciitis in his foot half of the year, scored 4 straight touchdowns, first 4 games, and did absolutely nothing the rest of the season. They brought in the presence of the Cowboy, Jason Witten, to solidify that tight end room. I think that's more of a teaching a pro how to be a pro move, and I'm all for that. It's a roster spot that will be. I would love to see him go into coaching, and hopefully, this is just a start for Mr. Jason Witten. As long as he stays out the booth, let's keep him out the booth. Let's not do that experiment anymore. But other than that, he's going into his 7th season, will make him the longest tenured Raiders quarterback ever. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Where did they get a load of me, huh? What did any Raiders fans in chat have any questions? I was going to go into next the trade between Amari Cooper going to the Cowboys and Khalil Mack going to the Bears. That pretty much has turned into Cooper has turned into Jonathan Abrams, and Josh Jacobs came over from the Khalil Mack trade pretty much directly. This year, the Raiders have another pick from the Bears, and hopefully they'll be able to hit a home run with that pick. And now that we see what the Chicago Bears is facing with not having a sound quarterback to name of, the defense took a step back last year. Khalil Mack is being paid like top dollar. And they were able to turn Khalil Mack into Jonathan Abrams and Josh Jacobs. Let's start first with Jonathan Abrams. Jonathan Abrams, if you guys don't know, is the strong safety out of Mississippi State. It seems like he's never been out of Mississippi. I'm not trying to be hot take-ish or anything, but there's some growing up to be done there. And he is a hard-hitting, ball-hawking, instinct-driven, physical player. And I think he's going to be excellent Raider for years to come. The thing is, he only knows one speed. He's still very young, and there's some aspects to the game that he still has to learn. And I believe it was week 1 of the season, he took out another Raider on a bang-bang play and pretty much took himself out for the rest of the season. That's not something that can be predictable. And hopefully it's not something that it will be Achilles' heel for such a talented player. But like I said, from the looks of it, if you guys watch Hard Knock, it does not look, I'm not sure if he's even from Mississippi, but the joke going is he's never been outside of Mississippi. So how will he react to being in an atmosphere such as Las Vegas? Has he ever been to a place like Las Vegas? I was 27 years old till I had ever been to Las Vegas. And it's very well possible. And those are things to take in consideration. Hopefully he can come and bring some of that energy. Their 3rd round pick, Mullins, cornerback, he looked it pretty good. It looks like not as good as Max Crosby, which is a steal. So they've been drafting better than expected. They look like they've uncovered some gems. That defensive line, the middle of it is getting staunter. Still isn't getting the kind of production we wanted out of Colin Farrell, but that's a change. Colin Farrell, I think that's his name. I sound such like an actor, doesn't it? But he looked like gassed a lot. Like he didn't have, I don't know if he's going to turn into a player that just comes in on passing downs. He looked like he was overwhelmed in the rushing game. But the Crosby guy, whoa, he can get up. I think he's going to be special in a sense of seems like to have a really good base and core strength, but he's not known for going by the quarterback. He gets near the quarterback, he's going to get his guy. He's going to get his man. So then you can't really teach that. Like some of these players, their first move is so explosive and they make a crease and they see that pie in the sky. They get all excited and they run by the quarterback. The quarterback is so easily able to evade that hunger closing speed. They don't take in consideration that they're on a slope. You know, I'm not sure if y'all getting me, but some people can get around that edge or make a move, and the quarterback is right there, and they get so excited. They forget their keys. They give the quarterback an out. So Max Crosby is not that guy. Moving forward in this draft, the Raiders have 2 first-round picks, and we were talking about this over in the Facebook group for the fantasy football leagues. It's going to be difficult to get what they need and hit a home run in the first round, in my opinion. Welcome to the stream. I think it's going to be difficult to get what they need and try to hit a home run in the first round, searching for we all know they need a wide receiver, but that's not all they need. They need a lot. So in history in the last 10 years, and we can probably go take a look at this. Let me pull it up for you guys. And then this is no secret. We all know this. We all know this. You're not guaranteed a stud or a wide receiver one or an all pro at the wide receiver position just because you got a number one overall pick. That's just not how it has went in the last, say, 10 years. Come take a walk with me. So as I say this, I posted this up in the Facebook group. From 2010 to 2019, only 5 first-round wide receivers have managed to become an all-pro. Now, I don't want this to be mistaken for, well, if they're not an all-pro, that don't mean they're not good. Well, you're using first-round draft capital on a wide receiver. We get mixed up in the terminology of what a wide receiver one is in the NFL and what a wide receiver one is to fantasy players. So that may be something that is construed a little bit, a tad bit, much. Okay. So with that being said, I made a blooper over here and I wish I can block out the comments, but I can't. Yeah, I did that. So what does that tell us? Odell Beckham Jr., Dez Bryant, Mike Evans. I got to speak these out because I got to remember we're recording a podcast currently right now. DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones are all the 5 wide receivers since 2010 that became all-pro that were drafted in the first round. That's not a bad list. What's funny is I want to say 2 of these guys, I should have checked this, were drafted in the same draft, or if not 3. Mike Evans, Hopkins, and Beckham. Was that the same draft, chat? Let me know in chat. So there's a 15% chance in the last 10 years you're going to get a wide receiver one or an all pro if you take a wide receiver in the first round. That's a lot of data right there. That's a lot of data. Oh, what you want to know? How many wide receivers were drafted in the first round in the last 10 years? 35. So 5 of those. If I was to name off some of these names didn't even make it 1 year in the league. And that's astonishing. So network, why do you bring this up? Why does this matter? Because the Raiders need a wide receiver. They need more than a wide receiver. Who did they pick up? Nelson Aguilar? We not going there. Who did they pick up? They picked up somebody else. Jason Witten, Terrell Williams, Hunter Renfrow. We just picked up somebody recently. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of help needed in that offense. I think moving forward, if, say, for instance, the Raiders have their eye on a prize, and there's somebody in particular that they want. With that first pick, I guess they have to take them. But say, for instance, the guy they want gets picked. I say take the best stud available. Don't think you have to take a wide receiver. Say you have a number one wide receiver that you want. You can grab multiple wide receivers on day 2. I looked already because I was wondering what's out there free agent wise. I don't understand how the Raiders are allowing the Texans, and I'm not a big fan, of the Texans grabbing Brandon Cooks. Now, I think Brandon Cooks is a slot receiver, but does have some outside experience with the New Orleans Saints and the New England Patriots. If I'm not mistaken, correct me in chat. If you added him, at least you're bolstering in your line. And then I know about the concussions. Just hear me out. You're putting someone else on the field that has to be guarded, right or wrong. So you have to guard Brandon Cooks. Now, there's health concerns and whatnot, but you couldn't trade a second-round pick. You have capital. There was no way for you to get Brandon Cooks on your team, and that's just an example, you guys. I don't understand how Nelson Aguilar is, and it's the contract. Oh my God, they got him for peanuts on the dollar. But there's somebody I'm forgetting too that they signed. But Marcel Aitman, what are you doing? You can't just throw all your eggs in one basket here in this draft, okay? Okay, Pumpkin? So I say, if you got a number one wide receiver coming up in a couple of weeks, if that wide receiver is gone, grab the best stud. Grab multiple wide receivers. Throw the dice on a couple of wide receivers later in the draft. Don't add to this list of maybes. I don't know. Linebacking core needs help. I'm liking the defensive line as a youth core. Offensive line, they've put so much draft capital into that offensive line and a lot of money, but a tackle could be used. I don't know the health of Mr. Hudson or where that is going forward. They lost Carl Joseph to the Cleveland Browns. Jonathan Abrams. Don't bet the farm on wide receivers in the first round. Trade back if you can. If you can, Raiders. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is this thing on? All right, let's check out with chat and see if we have any questions here. I hope the Raiders do well in Las Vegas. As a Bears fan, I will miss them in Oakland, and I'm sure Oakland will miss them. But I think Las Vegas is a viable market. I do too, especially like now they've changed so many rules to like gambling in sports now, and it's legal, it's on the card. Bringing somebody in like Jason Witten, and we all know if you watch Hard Knocks, Darren Waller's previous issues in the league, what took him so long to break out. They paid the man, and it's going to be in Las Vegas. I'm wondering how the turnstile style of fan is going to be. I'm here in Oakland right now, and there's going to be a ton of people that is going to travel because it's a hop, skip, and a jump. But there is going to be an influx of like people coming in. It's a tourist place. I guess San Francisco is touristy, but that's going to be interesting if, TMZ, what are we seeing? What is the culture going to be like? Being from Oakland, and I don't know if you heard the horror stories back in the day, keeping these players off of International Boulevard and Sweet Jimmy's and Jeffrey's Inner Circle and Mingles and is a challenge. So could you imagine them playing in those places I was naming? You just look them up. But anyway, they're going to be in Vegas. So that's going to be an interesting twist to it. They got a new stadium. Will the Black Hole travel? They will. But I want to ask you guys, what do you think? Should they make another? Is the Black Hole dead? Could they just slap a black hole on their end zone and just call it the Black Hole? Or is the Black Hole an Oakland thing? Yeah, guys, let me know in comments. Feel free to tweet it at me, the network one. Replace the threes and the thee. You can see the link is in description in the notes. We're going to work on pulling together some segments, possibly seeing if we can get some interviews in here. We're going to be filtered information slowly, and this is all hypothetically speaking if we have a football season anyway, but we're going to have some fun with it. Looks like we're running up on about 30 minutes here. If you guys have anything else to say in chat, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Check out The Back Row Show, Fantasy Football on all your podcasts. This one should be hitting your podcast as soon as I upload it. I have to check it out. Maybe we'll run it back and do it again. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am not done yet. You guys play fantasy football. We do have multiple fantasy football leagues. We just got to hold off and see if we have, or if we're going to have a season. If you guys are in the Empire Dynasty Fantasy Football League, I will be opening up rosters right after the draft, and we will discuss in there. You guys, thank you guys for sticking around. The fact that it's our only Dynasty League, we kind of have to go on as of right now. As business as usual, I will not be collecting any dues until we know if we're having a season. So don't worry about that at all. Thank you guys. Times like this, I'm fortunate to do something with my time and come in here and work on my craft and try to get better. You guys you guys are always welcome to come hang out and join my journey with me. I say a lot, and I will more than likely stop doing that. We're going to keep the energy going and keep it positive. I like to say what's up to Team Gavek, Streamer Network, also to Legion Gaming, Lenovo. What's up? We are affiliate over here. Shout out to the Bammies. Shout out to Fantasy Fuel to put me on this opportunity have some fun with you guys and come see you guys about once a week. We go head out on that note, and we go catch y'all later. All right.